You see a dog across the street. You don't know this dog. You have never met this dog. You have no shared history, no mutual friends, no reason whatsoever to be involved in each other's lives. And your hand is already moving, not after you decided to pet it, before. Your hand started moving before your brain finished the thought. Which is a little alarming if you think about it, because that means something in your nervous system is making decisions and just sort of informing the rest of you afterward. And it's not just dogs, it's cats, it's rabbits, it's horses, it's capybaras, which are essentially just enormous guinea pigs that look like they have absolutely nothing going on upstairs, and yet the entire internet is obsessed with them. People see a capybara and completely lose the ability to function as a rational adult. We pet things, constantly, compulsively, almost against our will, and nobody has ever really explained why, until now. Let's go. Here's where most people think the explanation starts and ends. Animals are cute. You see something cute, you want to touch it. Simple. Boring. Moving on. Except that explanation immediately falls apart when you ask one obvious follow-up question. Why are they cute in the first place? Because cuteness is not random. It's not a coincidence that puppies and kittens and human babies all make your brain do the same thing. There's a reason for that. And it's genuinely one of the stranger things evolution has ever pulled off. In 1943, an Austrian scientist named Konrad Lorenz noticed something that sounds obvious once you hear it, but had somehow never been formally studied. He noticed that certain physical features, big round eyes, a large forehead, a small nose, chubby cheeks, soft wobbly movements, triggered an immediate caregiving response in adult humans. Not a vague, pleasant feeling, a specific, measurable, almost compulsive urge to protect and nurture whatever had those features. He called it Kindschema, baby schema. His argument was that evolution built these features into human infants specifically to manipulate adult brains. The baby cannot talk, cannot explain that it needs food and warmth and protection. So instead, it just looks like that, and lets your nervous system do the rest. Evolution is not subtle. It basically coded a visual exploit directly into your operating system and called it a baby. And here's Lorenz's key observation. The system doesn't check species. It doesn't verify that the thing in front of you is actually your offspring, or even actually a human. It just sees big round eyes and a soft face and fires, which means a puppy, a kitten, a baby seal, a capybara with that vacant, pleasant expression, they all trip the same wire. Your brain is running a caregiving program that was designed for your children, and these animals have accidentally discovered the password. But here's the thing. Looking at something cute only explains why you feel something. It doesn't explain why you need to touch it. You can look at a beautiful sunset without grabbing it. You can admire a painting without pressing your face against it. So why isn't looking enough? Your sense of touch is not one thing. Most people think of it that way, touch, as a single sense, like vision or hearing. But your skin is actually running multiple completely separate sensory systems simultaneously, and one of them was only seriously studied relatively recently, and it changes the entire story. It's called the C-tactile fiber system. And these nerve fibers are almost absurdly specific in what they respond to. Not firm pressure, not sharp sensation, not fast movement. Slow, gentle, soft stroking. At a speed of about 1 to 10 centimeters per second. That's it. That is the specific input this entire dedicated neural system was built for. And when those fibers activate, they don't just send signals to the part of your brain that processes touch. They send signals to areas associated with emotion, social bonding, and reward. These fibers exist specifically to make gentle touch feel emotionally meaningful. And soft fur, the texture, the warmth, the gentle give of it, activates this system almost perfectly. As if fur was specifically designed to interface with it, which is a thought we will come back to. So when you reach out and pet something soft, you are triggering a neurological pathway that evolution built for a completely different purpose, and your brain is now firing it because of a golden retriever you met 11 seconds ago in a parking lot. And then your brain pays you for it. Dopamine, oxytocin, a measurable drop in cortisol, which is the hormone your body produces when it's stressed. Multiple studies have shown that just a few minutes of interacting with a dog, actually petting it, making physical contact, produces significant chemical changes in your brain. And here's the part that feels almost unfair in how wholesome it is. The same thing happens in the dog. You're crouched on the pavement, hand on a stranger's Labrador, making eye contact, and you are both simultaneously experiencing the same neurochemical response that bonds parents to children, that bonds people who love each other. You walked up to an animal you've never met and accidentally fell a little bit in love with it, and it fell a little bit in love with you, and that is not sentimentality. That is biology working exactly as intended. But this raises the obvious question: why does biology work like this? Why did evolution build a system that rewards you so strongly for touching soft, warm, living things? The answer is older than you think. Before dogs existed, before any pets existed, before humans had any domestic animals at all, mammals were already doing this. Touch has been the primary bonding mechanism in mammals for hundreds of millions of years. Primate groups spend enormous amounts of time grooming each other. Not just for hygiene, mostly not for hygiene, actually. Grooming releases the same neurochemicals we just talked about. It communicates safety and trust. It regulates stress in both the animal giving the contact and the animal receiving it. Baby mammals that are deprived of physical contact don't just feel sad, they fail to develop normally. Their stress response systems get permanently disrupted. Touch isn't comfort on top of survival. Touch is part of survival. It's how mammals communicate to each other's nervous systems. You are safe, you are not alone, everything is okay. We are built to give and receive this signal constantly. And then, sometime between 15 and 40,000 years ago, depending on which researcher you ask, and they argue about this constantly, another species figured out how to tap into the system. The wolf that crept toward the firelight looking for scraps was not cute. It was a large, dangerous predator that could absolutely end a human if things went sideways. But over thousands of generations, the wolves that were calmer, friendlier, less likely to trigger alarm in the humans nearby, those wolves got fed more, had more offspring, passed those traits along, and somewhere in that process something strange started happening. They started getting cuter, floppier ears, rounder faces, bigger eyes relative to their skulls, softer expressions. And dogs developed something that wolves don't have, a specific facial muscle above the eyebrows that lets them raise their inner brow, make their eyes go wide, produce that expression, the one that makes something in your chest completely give out. Researchers call it the levator anguli oculi medialis. Everyone else calls it puppy dog eyes. This muscle is either absent or barely developed in wolves. Dogs have it because it works. Thousands of years of living near humans created selection pressure for dogs that were better at triggering the petting response, better at making humans want to touch them, feed them, keep them close. You thought you chose your dog. Your dog's ancestors spent 10,000 years evolving to make you feel like you had a choice. Dogs didn't just adapt to human homes, they adapted to the human brain. But dogs aren't the only animals that do this. Rabbits, capybaras, hamsters, certain particularly round cats. What these animals share, beyond the obvious cuteness, is softness, warmth, and a round body shape that signals to your nervous system something it is apparently desperate to believe, that this creature is safe. Your brain, running its ancient mammalian programming, encounters something warm, soft, and round, and something in it goes, okay, calm down, everything is fine. Which is genuinely funny when you consider that some of these animals would absolutely bite you if you tried. But here's where it gets weird. Because humans don't only want to pet cute things. People pet snakes. People reach into tanks to touch stingrays. People at petting zoos will enthusiastically handle animals that are objectively not soft or round or cute by any reasonable metric. What's happening there is completely different. Novel textures, unusual sensations, the specific low-level adrenaline of touching something that your brain has flagged as slightly risky. This is curiosity and sensation-seeking running through the same touch system, producing a different but equally compelling pull toward contact. Touching a snake and touching a Labrador are not the same neurological experience, but they both end with your hand moving towards something before you've fully decided to do it. Which brings us to arguably the strangest entry in this entire subject. Have you ever seen a puppy so unreasonably cute that you wanted to squeeze it? Said something like, "I could eat you," to an animal you obviously had no intention of eating, made small threatening gestures at an adorable creature while producing sounds of genuine distress? Researchers at Yale studied this. Seriously, published findings and everything. They called it cute aggression, and it turns out it's not a personality flaw, it's a regulatory mechanism. When something produces an overwhelming level of positive emotion, more than your system is smoothly handling, your brain generates a counterbalancing negative impulse to bring things back to equilibrium. You are so overwhelmed by how cute something is that your nervous system creates a mild aggressive urge just to cope with the volume of positive feeling. Your brain is overloaded and it is not handling it gracefully, which means the slightly unhinged things you want to do to kittens are a sign that your brain is functioning correctly. You're welcome. Here's a question worth sitting with. Are humans the only ones? Chimpanzees spend hours in physical contact with members of their group. Not just grooming, but comforting, reconciling after conflict, pressing against each other after something frightening. The drive for touch runs through primates in ways that look, from the outside, remarkably like what we're describing. Coco was a gorilla who learned American Sign Language over decades of research. She had pet cats, multiple, over the course of her life. She requested them using signs, named them herself, handled them with careful gentleness. When one of her cats died, she signed words her researchers interpreted as sadness and grief. A gorilla, grieving for a small domestic cat, because the relationship had been real, because touching it and being near it had meant something to her. The desire for contact with soft, warm living things is not a human invention. It is something much older. During periods of enforced social isolation, people who have pets consistently show better mental health outcomes than people who don't. Lower cortisol, lower rates of depression and anxiety. And researchers were careful about this. They wanted to know whether it was just about having company, another presence in the space, or whether the physical contact itself was doing something specific. The evidence points to the contact, the hand on fur, the warm weight on your lap, the actual tactile experience of touching something alive. 10 to 15 minutes of it produces statistically significant changes in your neurochemistry. Your nervous system knows what it needs and responds quickly when it gets it. We treat the urge to pet animals like a cute quirk, an endearing human glitch, the thing that makes you 10 minutes late to places because you got ambushed by someone's golden retriever on the sidewalk. But what it's actually pointing to is something older and more serious than that. Touch is how mammals tell each other's nervous systems that everything is okay. It is one of the primary ways we regulate each other. It is how you communicate, without language, to another living thing. I see you. I'm here. You're not alone. For the vast majority of human history, we were never far from warm living things. Animals that slept near us for warmth and protection. Animals we worked alongside. Animals we were in constant physical contact with. The separation between humans and animals that we now treat as normal is, in evolutionary terms, extremely recent, almost cosmically recent. And our brains have absolutely not caught up. All of that ancient wiring is still running, still expecting to be near warm, soft living things on a regular basis, still reaching out. So here's the real answer. You don't pet animals because they're cute. They're cute because they activate systems that evolution built for something else entirely. Systems for bonding with your children, for communicating safety, for regulating your own nervous system through contact with another living thing. Animals that were better at triggering those systems got more attention from humans, got fed more, got kept closer. Over thousands of years, some of them became extraordinarily good at it. The urge you feel when you see a dog across the street is not a personality quirk. It's not a dog person thing or a grew up with animals thing. It is millions of years of mammalian evolution, running ancient programming, reaching out through your hand toward anything warm and soft enough to feel like connection. You were never going to not pet the dog. Your nervous system decided that before you did.